As a past podcast guest has stated, passion is created, not followed. My guest today has done something that very few people ever manage to pull off. He works his dream job. He didn't simply follow the path to become who he is today, he paved every step of the way. I am beyond honored to welcome my very own coach, Kit Bennett, onto the podcast. My sport, rowing, is a little bit of a niche sport, but what Kit has built here in the Midwest for the love of rowing is nothing short of remarkable. In 2009, Kit was hired at just 24 years old to start a crew program at a brand new high school, Skyline, with 25 athletes and a blank slate. Now, Skyline Crew has grown to over 75 athletes, won more than 70 Midwest Championship titles, claimed 10 Scholastic National Championships, and sent about 70 student athletes to row in college. He then founded the Washtenaw Rowing Center in 2012, which started with 6 middle schoolers and now serves as a regional hub for middle school, high school, and under 23 elite rowers from across the country. Kit, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here.
Hannah, thank you so much for having me. This is going to be, I'm really looking forward to having a chat. That was a very kind intro as well.
Thank you. My first question is, you grew up in London and began coaching in 2000. What brought you to Ann Arbor and what made you stay?
I think the easy answer is love. So I met my wife at a summer camp. My wife is Kat, so we're Kit and Kat, so we can get that out of the way. But we met at a summer camp 45 minutes north of here, Camp Copenhagen, which is a Y camp up in Fenton. It's part of the Greater Flint YMCA. And we dated for sort of 3.5 years long distance while she was studying at Michigan State and I was studying at the University of Durham. And I think for us, it worked. The long distance worked. I think for a lot of people, that's not everyone's thing, but for us, it was really good. And, kind of fast forward 22 years forward, we've been together. I'm married for 16 years and we now have 2 kids, Finn and Henry, who are about to go into 8th grade and 5th grade. And it all worked out.
It's funny how the pieces fall together sometimes.
Yes. And she has been my biggest supporter of what I do here with rowing. We actually named the race course up at Kensington after Kat. So it's the Katherine Bennett Race Course. I think she puts up with a lot. She's very, very patient and has sort of supported my coaching habit, as it were, for a long time. She's been incredible. And so that's what got me here. I ended up moving to Ann Arbor when I started my master's in education, and I taught for 3 years at Emerson School in Ann Arbor. But once we realized we could sort of make rowing coaching into a sort of full-time thing through the rowing center and middle school, sort of starting the middle school program at the rowing center. And I sort of finished my time up at the University of Michigan because I was in parallel coaching there for 4 years as well. And with the Michigan men, which was a great experience. I learned a lot there. That's kind of where it all kicked off with the kind of rowing center and the high school piece really got into the weeds of it. And so that was super exciting. And so, yeah, that's kind of how we got here.
Yeah, going on that line, especially since you were hired to start Skyline Crew completely from scratch at 24, what was going on in your mind at that time?
Well, so I was initially at Pioneer across town. I was very fortunate to work with Rich Griffith there and Mike Dove. And Rich ran a really good program there. And I remember vividly we were sitting in the truck just on the way back from a Grand Rapids race, chatting about how overwhelming it would be to run your own program. And then Rich just said, "Well, no, you could do it. You'd be fine." I think I was 22. I was 22 at the time, I think. And then fast forward a year later, the school got built. And then the position got posted. And so there was a year before when they were only freshmen at Skyline where they were posting positions, but they weren't necessarily hiring people. And so we started the program with freshmen and sophomores, and sort of the nudge from Rich and his sort of confidence in me. And then Mike Taft at Huron, who was also encouraging me to apply for the position. That's kind of what it all got. That's kind of that sort of sliding doors moment, butterfly effect sort of happened and just sort of was given that encouragement. And now we're here.
Yeah. I really think, honestly, I'm glad that you had such a good support system because it's kind of scary to start something completely from scratch.
It's something that, we talk to you guys about it a lot, but I think you need to find mentors in your life. I'm a huge believer in that. I think I had some really big advocates in my corner. Mike Dove is now actually coaching with us at Skyline. It's come full circle, which is incredible. He's with us 3 days a week, which is like phenomenal. Very wise man. And you need those cheerleaders, either cheerleaders or mentors. I think come in sort of different brands, but people who believe in what you're doing. You are also going to have people along the way who don't believe in what you're doing. And I also responded well to that. I think there were plenty of people who weren't so clear on what we were doing and getting as excited about it. And ideally, it's more positives than not. And I think we had way more people in our corner on that space going forward. And that was just truly exciting and was very motivated by that. And then, like we say to you guys, like sometimes you just got to just jump in and do it. Right. And, failure is fine. And also like how you respond to failure, right? You might have some really good ideas and some of them might not work out, and that's fine. And then, not all the things we came up with at Skyline right off the bat were great.
Yeah.
Lots of stumbling blocks along the way. But we've always had people to help us pick ourselves up along the way as well. So it's been really, really nice.
On the topic of the values that our team stands by, the 3 words pasted big up on the wall are hard work, compassion, and legacy. Where does this come from, and how would you describe your method for instilling them into us?
The team has heard me talk about The Culture Code by Dan Coyle, which is a big kind of sort of Bible for me on culture and leadership. I read that about 9 or 10 years into the program starting, and I was very sort of set on like cultural principles and like why we did things, and I'll be honest, it was just gut, right? You're 24 and young, you don't know what you don't know. Still don't know what I don't know sometimes. Like you're like, I don't think you ever know what you don't know everything, right? You're always trying to learn, but especially at 24, you're like, okay, it just feels right. So we're gonna roll with that. And also the resources available to me at 24 now to when you hit 24 are very different, right? Or even just now. And then I read this book and it was very, crystallizing with like the social sciences behind why different cultures work, good examples in the world. And it really resonated with a chapter in the book about how a lot of like top companies in the world, they have these like messages within their companies that the majority of the employees or membership don't know. They don't know what their mission statement is. Now, I know that not everyone knows the full mission statement of Skyline, because the full mission statement discusses putting young people out into the world through the diversity that competition and crew provides and impacts communities. I want people, good human beings and good young adults, to go out in the world and impact communities. But I really wanted to make sure that we were on the same page with at least some defining pillars. And so I felt that hard work, compassion, legacy really defined that for the program and encapsulated the mission. And I think more often than not, most kids on the team, I'm not going to say all, but most kids on the team could at least reel off those 3 things and they understand what they mean. I mean, hard work is self-explanatory, compassion, self-explanatory. Legacy is the one where then if people are listening, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Hannah. What does legacy mean when we talk about it in the program?
When we talk about legacy, it is not only just us saying, oh, when you leave the team, you want to make it a better place than when you started. But it's also like the energy that you bring out into the world after you leave the team. So it's both parts. Like first part, you want to add to the team. You want to bring your own self, like make yourself a better person, also make the team a better team. But then when you go out into the world, you also want to make the world a better world.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. And like, I think that's the big thing, right? Like we want you guys to understand, like we want you to understand it. And like, I'm okay with people not knowing the exact mission, right? Mm-hmm. And missions are there, right? For like organizations to fully understand when hard decisions have to be made. Everything should come back to your mission. And so we even talk about it at the fall and spring meetings with you and your parents. Like, we want to make sure that if there are hard conversations we have, because we put a premium on communication with you and your parents, of like, we are always going to bring it back. Is it on mission, right? You need that like binding statement to make sure that we are not led astray by anything. But yeah, those 3 words, mm-hmm. that's kind of where it all derived from, was making sure that we could have a cohesive set of statements to make sure that people were on point with that. And it was easy to, and quite frankly, just easy to remember as well.
And it's everywhere. So yeah.
Yeah.
On a different note, the next question is something that I believe is extremely unique to our team. And I've always been curious about this, but I know that many elite rowers have come out of this program, but how do you balance developing such high-level athletes while still making the sport accessible to everyone?
And when you say accessible, do you mean like financially accessible, or do you mean just athletically? You mean like across the spectrum?
Yeah, because most elite athletes, like soccer athletes, they'll start when they're 4 years old and they only get their D1 commit if they started that early. But for us, like you can start in high school and you can still commit in a very high level.
I think that's a really thoughtful question, Hannah. So I strongly believe that athletics, and you can replace athletics with we'll just say extracurriculars, right? The power of extracurriculars for anyone can be like life defining, right? So like my twin brother's a theater director and my older brother is a swimmer. And in all those three different spaces for us, athletics and the arts have been hugely impactful on who we are as people. And you could talk to anyone that you know in your circle, your family circles, that some sort of extracurricular in their life has likely impacted them in a massive way. So from the financial piece of it, we believe firmly that like that should not be a barrier to entry for anyone if they so choose to like participate in the sport, and that in a good faith space, right? So there's a lot of research done that like if you put up a bunch of barriers for financial aid, or refer to a scholarship as well, depending on what you're looking at, people will not apply for it. So we have taken the tact that if you apply for financial aid, you'll be given it, and it's done in a good faith space. My assumption is that families are not going to try and, for want of a better phrase, screw over the budget of a public high school rowing team, right? Like I choose to believe there's good in the world, and people are not going to take advantage of that. People have called me naive for that. I think it's very rare to see people take advantage of that space. And I will take, even if there's been the odd example of it in the last 20 years of the program, I will take that over the dozens and possibly actually hundreds of kids at this point who have had financial aid. Because we give out roughly 10 grand a year in financial aid at this point for our team, which I think is pretty good. And I think we see the impact on inclusion and diversity on our team in a very positive way because of that. And that can be represented in many different spaces. But I think it's really, really been a benefit to our team in team culture. And then on the athletic side of things, I think rowing, we're lucky that it's, in some ways it's a niche sport. And if you find it late, that's fine. I think it's a closed motion sport. And so like running and cycling and other closed motion sports, you are able to find it late and find success. So that's like, I think by default to some degree it is accessible in those spaces. And because it's niche, you're not competing against a million kids all playing football or basketball and so on and so forth. If we're being honest about that space, right? But I think also because it rewards work, and so accessibility is also, and to some degree, like if you're willing to put the work in, you will find success to some degree. If you are afforded that opportunity, and so that loops back nicely to, I think we do a good job of finding that opportunity for people if they would like to do it, because we've never denied financial aid to anyone in the program. So those two themes tie in nicely. And from the sort of elite athlete perspective, I think because we value process and development over winning, and we always have pretty regular conversations with the team about this. It's not that we don't celebrate winning. This is America.
Yeah.
We are number one. Comes up a lot, right?
Yep.
Like that's not lost on us. Like we know that you guys want to win. We know that that's important to you. And it'd be disingenuous to say that the coaches don't value winning, but it's how you articulate that in a team space. And we're just not going to sit there every practice bingo, we've got to win this, we've got to win that, blah, 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 blah. We want you to see that as a byproduct of your hard work. And sometimes it's going to happen, but we talk about the controllables and the uncontrollables, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't control who shows up on the day. We can only control the work that goes into you showing up on the day and you doing your best. And if that results in a win, cool. And I think we're very genuine about that space, because winning is hard, should be hard, and that's okay. And like comes back to like the adversity loop, right?
Yeah.
How do you respond to adversity redefines you, because you're going to go out into the wide world and you're not going to get dubs every day, right? Like that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And as I've shared with you guys, as an athlete, as a rower, I was pretty pretty rubbish. Like, wasn't very good at the sport, but I really loved it. I loved that process. I really enjoyed just being on the river with my friends, working hard. And there's more and more research coming out that ultimately actually there is a misnomer with it is just winning that drives people staying in athletics. It's actually everything else.
Mhm. Yeah. Honestly, that's one of my favorite parts about crew is that like whatever you put in, you'll get at least you'll get out. It's not like if you don't put in anything, you'll be magically talented. Like some people are, but a big part of that is the hard work. Yeah. Skyline Crew's mission is to empower young athletes into confident, capable adults who lead their communities. Can you point to a moment where you saw it come to life?
I think the easy answer is to pick like an example of something big, right? I think it's not the big stuff. It's when you see stuff, when you get emails from parents of alum or progress being made by kids that you had on the team, and they are setting up events in their community. They're helping with charities or just their progress in work. I think that's some of the most gratifying like emails and texts you get out of all of this because there's such a delay in that, right? Like you're getting messages from people in their like late 20s, right? And they graduated obviously in their late teens. And so I think as a sort of more wider ranging response, it's those kind of messages and commentary that you get from alum that's where you're seeing that come to fruition. And it is the most like touching and exciting sort of touch points that you get with your alumni. And that just they are taking the time out of their day to like reach out to you, right? And not from like an ego thing, just like it's just love. It's just the most wholesome thing that you can think of, right? Like, and then you've got like there are kids who have stayed in town who are having kids, or like an alum from Pioneer actually that I coached just had him and his wife just had a baby, and he's like being named. I'm going to get it wrong, but the chief medical intern because he's becoming a doctor, like in Madison, and like things like that. And like the impact he's going to have on that community there is just incredible. We had Jack, who was named as like one of the Forbes 30 under 30 for starting a tech company, like things like that. Like those things are incredible. But I think it's easy to overlook the smaller touch points of just general day-to-day things going on. Like I bumped into a parent and their son is like working with a goat farm in Iowa.
Whoa.
But like thrilled about this. I think that's like the coolest thing, and like impacting those communities there, right? Like I think impact can just look like many different things. And I think especially I appreciate that as a coach and a teacher because those spaces can have different reactions depending on who you're talking to as well. And
I really think the smaller things matter a lot, especially since like they compound and then you realize you can like look back onto the emails and like reminisce. On the line of impact, I know that beyond Skyline Crew, you've developed both the Washtenaw Rowing Center and the Katherine Bennett Race Course. What compelled you to reach beyond high school program?
this is a couple of responses here. And I'm always going to be honest about this stuff. So when I was in my late 20s, I was very fortunate. So a few things happened. Like the incredible like birth of my like Kat and I's first son, Finn, happened. And at the exact same time, I was given the opportunity to go coach at the World Championships, which was really exciting with the junior world team, with the sculling team. And this was literally timed. Kat gave birth 2 months beforehand. And then we moved to Connecticut with a 2-month-old for the summer. And you can imagine the stress that put on the family. But we knew that this would open up doors for me, potentially, for my career. And when you're in your late 20s, you are a bit more, maybe, shall we put it, prestige focused or career focused. And so Kat very patiently was okay with that. And her mom came with us as well. And Finn spent the first few months of his life in Connecticut, hanging out. And Kat was also studying for her boards because she had just graduated as a nurse practitioner. And so that opened up doors for me that, you know, led to some job offers and opportunities in the collegiate space and around the country in the junior space. but we made the decision to stay, and the board was very willing to work with us on like starting the rowing center. And we're not shy. It's not like this was like a secret or anything. Like we were like sort of talking about things because we wanted to stay in Ann Arbor because we love Ann Arbor. And so like that's the more practical side of it as an adult, right? And these are all things young adults have to like navigate, right? You're going to have this heartstring moment of like, do I leave what I've built and love for potential job opportunities, or do I stay for community and the sort of emotional piece of it as well? And by the way, there's no wrong. I don't think there's a wrong answer there. I think Kat and I felt strongly that like this Ann Arbor was home. And so we spoke to the Skyline's board and said, can we work out an arrangement to get the rowing center going so we can make coaching a viable option? And you've heard me talk a lot in the last few years, even just to the kids, that like, that we believe in livable wages for coaches. This is a viable option. You know, Lindsay's full-time, now Emma and Jules and everyone else, that, you know, we're trying to improve that pathway for young coaches. And so that all started in my late 20s. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I had that kind of diverging sort of opportunity there and then followed through with it. But it only worked because the board was open to it. And so I'm very appreciative of that. And I think it's one of the reasons we have such a good relationship. Like they've been incredible and we follow through on everything we say we're going to do with them. And they've always been so supportive. So yeah.
Like even in Ann Arbor, and you've grown rowing to such a big thing, I would even describe your work ethic as like insatiable. And I mean, hard work is one of the pillars of our team, and we just see you always searching for the next thing to do and the next thing to improve. And I think that's like really affected our team as well. For like, we also want to work hard because we see you working hard. What do you think are the drivers behind your mindset around hard work? And like, why do you feel compelled to just always be on the grind?
I mean, I love what I do. I don't think it's just that. I think it's also shifted over time. I think definitely now I want to set a good example to my own children. I think, you know, we've been navigating, as you guys are aware of, like, we weren't sure if we were going to have a home for the last 2.5 years. So I think that's also been like again, there's practical reasons as well. Like we got to grind so we have somewhere to row. Like that was a big one in the last couple of years. And we've solved that recently, which has been really good. I just think I think it comes back to, again, I think the sport, and again, it could be anything, but for me, it's rowing. I think the lessons you can get out of rowing are lifelong lessons that can have a huge impact on you and the people around them. And I just think it's worth the grind. And I think working with kids is definitely a gift. Like I'm really lucky. Like I love being a classroom teacher. Like I did that for 3 years. It was really fun. It's different when, to some degree, you are choosing to be there, right? Like athletes are choosing, if you're doing an extracurricular at a school, you are really 9 times out of 10, you're choosing to be there. So how we articulate it at our program. Like we actively encourage you guys, like if you don't want to be there, then maybe this isn't for you, right? We want kids who want to be there. So I think we take that responsibility very seriously. So it's sort of like,
yeah,
I think that's important. I think that's important. And so it's worth really, it comes down to the core principle. If it's worth doing something, really send it on one thing. So
I love that. Honestly, yeah. I think it was a really big risk, like jumping all in on crew, especially since you were a classroom teacher before and it was more of like a stable job. But on the line of like adversity, what do you think is the hardest season Skyline Crew has been through, and what have you learned from that?
I mean, it'd be the last two, without a doubt. It's the last 2 years. It's been navigating, trying to find a space for us with the sale of Concordia. That's been very, very challenging. I think I've been pretty honest with you guys in the last year about it, especially the last 6 months. The weight of relief of like solving that, even in the last month, effectively, last 2 months, has been like huge. Good. Because you don't want to turn around to the community that you really care about and say, well, you know, we did our best, but sorry. Which like effectively could have been a reality, right? Like that we're pretty sure we're going to solve it, but like until it is actually solved, you don't want to be out there just, you don't want to get to that failure point.
Yeah.
And then I would have been really taken to task on my own sort of language we just talked about, like how was I going to respond to that? You know, does your whole family move somewhere for another coaching job? Do we stay here, pick up the pieces, work out another plan? like those kind of things. And so I think that's why the weight of it felt even more, because it was everything that I talk about with you as a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so I think that was stressful. But we're on the other side of it and we're good. Also, it's got to be appropriately passed out to you guys.
Yeah.
We couldn't have been like 2.5 years ago, set the whole team into a panic and be like,
Yeah.
I think intentionally we talk about you guys being young adults, and we have, I think, with some bias, I think we do a good job of treating you as such, and like we
Yes.
treat you like toddlers, which I think some sports teams do. Or actually, sorry, in some teenagers, I shouldn't say some sports teams, some teenagers in general are treated by adults in a way that is, I don't think they don't get developed in a way or given ways to grow as they should be at that developmental stage. Because if you're treated like a kid, you're going to behave like a kid.
Yeah.
And yes, whilst you are children, you are at this such formative stage of development that we have such impact on, because you're choosing to be there. And so this was a rare case of like, we had to be careful with how we pass that information to you, but it's also your world as well, and it impacts you in a massive way. And so as things got easier to pass things out, we felt it was appropriate to like sort of discuss things. But also we wouldn't expect you guys to feel the impact as much, because developmentally that's where you guys are at. And I think that's completely like, that's authentic. Like we wouldn't take it any other way.
I think honestly, I think that's really smart, because number one, you never lied to us. You never tried to keep it hidden. But number two, it wasn't told in a way that like, oh my gosh, our team's going to end. It's all crumbling. We're going to get evicted. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think that's a big part of it, right? Like I always try and model for you guys, you got to be authentic. If I'm having not the world's best day, I'm not going to roll into practice and be like, woo, this is like, this is great. Yeah. Like that's just not authentic. Like we try to teach you that adults are fallible, and like, that's okay. Yeah. It doesn't give you a carte blanche to be inappropriate or annoying or whatever, rude, but like you're going to have days. And so I think that's why it was important that we were honest about it.
As a team, we know that no matter what happened, this is something that you've told us a lot, but like no matter what happened in the previous day, when you come to practice, it's like you don't have to show up your best if you didn't have the best day, but you have to make the effort to show up consistently and put your 100% of that day into the practice. And I think that's a really big lesson that I've learned from rowing. And one of my questions that I'm actually really curious about is that as someone who rows for Skyline, what do you think makes someone a good athlete beyond their physical ability?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think it's mindset. I think we talk about, are you a boat upper, downer, or somewhere in between, right? Like, are you a good teammate, right? Like being a good athlete, right? Genetics play a big part in that, right? Do you have the physical gifts to be effective is one of them, right? That's kind of checkbox number one. Do you have the mindset and sort of mental fortitude to match that? And heart, like does heart and mind match the engine? But then ultimately, I think like you need to be a culture value add. You need to be a great teammate, especially in rowing, because it's a lot of grind and it's an endurance sport. And I think that's like always the kind of intangible, right? Like it's not just boat chemistry, because like boat chemistry can wax and wane with like your friends.
Yeah.
But like you can also develop good boat chemistry even if you aren't best friends with everyone as well. And like just by I mean, at the base level, just by being respectful, you would hope. But I think it's that athletic mindset of like, you just said it, I'm going to bring my best day regardless. And that can manifest in many different ways. It could be, hey, I see someone's having a bad day and I'm just going to go check in with them. Like, and that comes back to compassion, right? Like, am I being mindful about others, right? Like kindness. We talk about that a lot, right? Are we good communicators with each other as well? Like we've sort of had the internal jokes at practice about like, if I send a text with a period at the end of it, I'm not mad, right? Like I'm just using good grammar, hopefully. And then although sometimes I've met you guys where you're at and I intentionally don't send text messages with periods in it because I understand what that means, right? Like
connotations.
Yeah. Like, so we're also adjusting the communication style there. So like it's yeah, I think it's all those things.
Mm-hmm. There's honestly a lot of people think that, oh, if you've worked super hard at your sport and you've started when you were really young, you're bound to be amazing. But that's just not true. I think there's a lot of things that go into it, especially with rowing, which is like both a team sport and something that you have to like do individually, like training individually. Yeah. What's the biggest mistake you see young coaches make, and what do you wish someone had told you earlier in your career?
I actually just had this conversation with someone this week. It comes back to what we talked about earlier with mentors. Whilst I had some great mentors when I was younger, I just wish I had more. I don't think you can have enough people who are in your corner. You are creating that village support system. And it's what in the Midwest, I think we do a really good job of this, of like trying to connect people as much as we can, especially if they're younger coaches. And it's while I will always take someone's phone call or text, at least the very least say, hey, I'll get back to you when I can, if they have questions. And there are no, I don't think there are secrets in rowing personally. I think like you just got to put the work in to execute them, and how we execute them is going to look differently for coaching styles and everything else. But like, I just don't think there are many secrets in our sport. So being willing to share, and so encouraging younger coaches that opening yourself up to feedback as early on as possible. And look, that you said this yesterday to one of my good coaching friends, like the best of them, taking feedback, it doesn't get any easier when you're 42 or 22, right? Like I've got, like, it's still hard, but you do have to be willing to do it. And if you're not, then you're just never going to progress. And just asking question after question after question after question and not feeling silly for it, I think will put you in a very good space to develop. It's really why in my late 20s, why I just started trying to go to as many different practices of different programs as much as my schedule would allow. Because you can learn good or bad things, right? Like you're basically taking what you like from a person's practice and what you don't like, and then having discussions with them about it, obviously respectfully.
Yes.
Because you're simply just not going to like everything you see at a practice. It's not even necessarily an indictment on what you're seeing. Most of the time, it's always positive, but like you are going to have questions. And I think that anytime you can get into a conversation about your sport, or even going to non-rowing practice, right? Like I've got some bucket list like coaches. Like if I could meet Emma Hayes, the US women's soccer coach, she happens to be English. But if I could meet her and pick her brain, like that'd be like incredible. She's not a rowing coach, but like you've got people like that, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what you just got to keep asking questions, not to steal off Ted Lasso, but be curious.
Yes. Yes. Honestly, I thought your comment about like wanting to meet Emma Hayes is really telling of like what type of person you are, because some people think that there's like a cookie cutter method to everything. But, if you gain more exposure and you widen your perspective, like you'll probably end up with a better result. Yeah. And my final two questions, I'm going to combine them, but legacy, as you know, is a major pillar in our team. What do you hope your legacy shapes out to be? And what do you think the future of rowing in Ann Arbor and the Midwest look like to you? Yeah.
Hard hitting questions here, Dubs.
Yep.
Look, I've actually answered the first question recently in the sense of my hope is that the race course and the community that we built there, I hope that is not just my legacy, but like our legacy as the Midwest. I think in my late 20s, I think coaching at the World Championships was my like little kid dream, right? Like I was never good enough to row for GB, where I grew up in England, for Great Britain. And then so, next deal was, can I coach for a national team? Was when I found out that I got the opportunity to do that. And your old Kit would be very, very proud and like very like super thrilled, right?
Jumping
like that
up the walls.
Yeah, like just bouncing. And that was like a very emotional moment and like super excited. But now as you get older, you have kids and I've been on the Midwest board for a long time. I'm now with the SRAA board as well. So it's all tied into those things as well with scholastic sports in general. My hope is that the race course, what we're doing in scholastic rowing continues, and we keep this hub going. Like I think the community that we built I would rank that above coaching for the junior national team. And I
Wow.
never thought I would hear myself ever say that. And it's very clear because bringing people together is just the most special thing. Like it's just, you can't beat it. And I say that with no hesitation at this point. But I think late 20s Kit or early 30s Kit would be like, what do you want? Like, that's just silly. But you change, like as you get older, views change and you have different perspectives. I think the race course is really special. I think what we're building is really special. And we're only just got started. We're only year 5, right? Going into year 6. We've got we've got a great relationship with Nick Bix and Northville have done a huge amount of work with us at Skyline to get all this going. Chris Arnecki, Donnie Wright at Orchard Lake, wouldn't be here without Lindsay and Wes and all the legwork they put in. It's just obviously, Lisa Osborne as well from Midwest Scholastics. Like there's so many people to mention here, but it's such a special group. And I think super important that we maintain it because it's been a really big boon for rowing. And ultimately you guys are the ones who get to enjoy it. I mean, when I was 5-6 years ago, I always mention at the fall meeting and spring meeting, we're talking about volunteering, right? But prior, we didn't have 8 lanes for racing. We didn't have a jumbotron. We didn't have drones. We didn't have grandstands. We didn't have any of these things that really helped make racing exciting. I want you guys to be excited about racing. I want people to be excited about our sport because I just love this sport and what it can do for you guys.
I think that's so interesting because prestige wise, coaching at World Championships seems like, oh, that's the biggest thing I'll ever do, or this is the peak of my career. But if you really think about it, the number of people that you impact through coaching World Championships versus the number of people that you impact through basically supporting the entire Midwest, rowing in the entire Midwest, that is huge. Through the Katherine Bennett Race Course, through Washtenaw Rowing Center, through Skyline Crew, you've impacted so many people compared to coaching a team of elite athletes at World Championships. What does the future in Ann Arbor and the Midwest look to you 5-10 years from now?
My hope is we see more rowing directly in Ann Arbor. We can build a true rowing center, which is the goal. I hope that will help expand opportunities for schools locally, but also on a more regional level, can we still make sure we're finding mentors and resources for teams that want to start? I think that's obviously a big thing. But I think from a sort of more bigger picture view for the sport, continuing to making it accessible, more exciting, because if we want it to grow, that has to happen. I think the Olympics going to 1,500 meters this year, hot take that I think is not very popular, is that I think it's a good thing, not because I just own a 1,500 meter race course, but I think it will go back to 2,000 meters, but what will happen is that we might see opportunities where you'll see multiple distance races raced at the same race by the same athletes, which will develop storylines you see Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps is one of the most storied Olympians that we have, right? Because he's won so many gold medals and he won a lot at the same Olympics. But you have someone like Steve Redgrave, who won 5 consecutive gold medals at the Olympics, and I don't want to butcher her name, but there's a Romanian Olympian rower who has 8 Olympic medals. I would say it's Izabita or Izalabita. I don't want to get her name wrong, but no one knows really either of them very well, especially your generation almost certainly won't know them, because the narrative and storyline around them just doesn't exist because they didn't do it at the same Olympics. And the marketing around that doesn't work. Is the pragmatic reality. And so what we might see out of the 1,500 meter Olympics in LA is it might generate some excitement around that distance. And then maybe we have 1,500s, 1Ks, 500s, and 250s all at the same event. And this could be complete pie in the sky, but I think that'd be great. I watch Olympic kayaking and they race over 250 and 500s and 1Ks, and it's great. I know nothing about kayaking beyond it's on the same race course that we would race on. And you watch it every 4 years, but can we just generate some excitement and storyline around the sport?
Have you heard of the new Netflix show coming out about
We just talked about it yesterday, Hannah.
Really? Wow,
Crew Girl is coming.
Yeah, more people will be pulling up to the KBRC. We're having a big party, big watch party. Yeah.
I know. We just chatted about it at practice yesterday. What was it? Mix between heated rivalry and off campus, right?
I almost don't want to watch it. I'm scared.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, I don't know if we'll see.
We'll see. We can team bonding. We can do that.
Yeah. My hope is that we can grow as a sport. We definitely got some work to do on it, but it is definitely doable. So.
Yay, that was amazing. Thank you so much for joining me, Kit. That brings us to the end of this Under the Canopy episode. If you found value in this episode and want to hear more, kindly subscribe or follow and leave a review. Hope to see you soon on next week's episode.